All right, I'm going to put the program for today's event in the chat, aka agenda. Pardon me, I'm getting over a cold, so I have a little bit of a cough. All right, let's kick it off. We are here to demo Sprint 12, codename Magnesium. This is Fleet version 4.38.0. And I'm going to hand it over to Sharon and the customer experience team to show their features for this release.
Thank you, Luke. I think viruses made the way to go to impact people through Zoom.
That's what
That's what
it
I believe.
seems like, right? Everybody's been sick the last couple of weeks.
I think they found their way. Yeah. Thank you, Luke.
I thought I was safe working all remote, but
Yeah, it's probably worldwide. So anyway, it was a busy sprint for
yeah, back
us.
to school bugs. That's what it is. That's where mine came from.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, my kids got back from university, probably from there or something. So,
Yeah.
uh, so this sprint was busy for us, and early in the week, Monday, Haziel joined us, so we welcomed him. Haziel already started working, picked a bug. I don't think that we're not 100% it will make the release, so we'll keep it for next time. But maybe Haziel, give a 30-second introduction for yourself from the moment you were born until now in 30 seconds.
All right, time to talk at like 5x speed. No, hey everyone, I'm Haziel. I just joined the CX team. Gonna be doing some backend uh, software development there. This is, I guess, my third startup that I've been a part of. So I've been riding the startup train for a little bit. But before work, I went to college at Georgia Tech. I live in Atlanta. I grew up here. Um, and yeah, super excited. This has been an awesome week. And like Sharon said, I've already started writing some code. Didn't make it into this one, but I'll be happy to show the very small fix I made this week. So yeah, great to be here.
Thank you, Haziel, and welcome. And we'll move directly to Tim, and Tim will present the backend part of adding more information from NVD to our dashboard, to our vulnerability dashboard. So, Tim, take it, please.
All right, let's get right in there. Definitely a lot of learning for me this sprint on vulnerability scanning, a lot of fun stuff. Let's see. Can you see my screen?
Got it.
Postman, good. All right, sweet. All right, this is, yeah, it's pointed locally. So we're just going to, there we go. If you notice, two new fields here. We have CVE description, um, which was, it wasn't completely terrible to implement. There's one-to-one relationship with CVEs. We have a resolved inversion as well. This one was pretty squirrely at the end of the day. I want to kind of go through maybe a couple caveats that you might see in production for support and whatnot. This doesn't always exist, this field. Sometimes they just have affected version. They don't have a resolved version. So sometimes you'll see this empty. Let's see if I can scroll down and find an example. Here's one. And that could be for a couple reasons. One, maybe it's not in the feed. They don't have resolved version in the feed. Two, and maybe a little less likely, is uh, they use some kind of weird versioning scheme. And so there was definitely a handful of bugs there where several vendors, maybe many vendors in some cases, aren't using semantic versioning. And we try our best to kind of convert existing version numbers into semantics so we can figure out basically, let me get back to the top here. What we're trying to do is figure out if this version kind of falls, within that scope. And so if this version doesn't support semantic versioning, or this version, or this, there's several pieces of data that kind of influence this. So as those come in, if we find them, customers find them, let us know. Please open up bugs. We want to um, uh, unrealistic right now to go through the entire NVD feed and look at every single version out there that I've tried for a little bit. But yeah, bring those in. We need some feedback on squash bugs as they come out.
How do these present if we don't have it in the standard semantic versioning format? Do you know?
This will come up as a blank
Okay.
string as it shows down here.
Okay, got it. So you want to be reported, you want us to report anything that shows up blank?
No, because it could be a valid blank.
Okay.
Yeah, it just could be the NVD report or the feed doesn't have that information, so we have nothing to report.
Okay, cool. So we should report it to you if there's something reported by NVD and it's blank.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
And that is at least this part of the demo, right? Oh, I guess I have long polling next. I'm up next. This was a short POC we ran. I think I just want to show real quick what we did there. I have it on a different screen. Here we go. So the general scope of this POC is see if we can get live queries to report back really fast, as fast as possible. And so the general sense around long polling is we're keeping connections open, agent connections open. And so in terms of a live query, this is kind of what it looks like. Oh man, this happens every time I demo. I have the link in there. Let's see if it will. Yeah, I don't know if I can. You have to go watch the video. Basically, what you'll see here is I'll click the run again button and I'll get pretty instantaneous responses from that. So we don't have to wait the 10 seconds, I think, the default polling interval. And if you want to read more about it, there's a doc, and this video is linked in the demo doc. And I think Rachel.
Tim, Jeff does one little debug thing. Can you try opening the link in an incognito window?
Tim, you have a good video for that, maybe, if you have it available.
Nope. No dice.
All right. Appreciate the effort.
It might. I think we've had that happen before, and it plays on someone else's screen. Sharon, do you want to try playing that video?
Yeah, the link is in the doc.
Sorry, where is the the video? Yeah, let me see. Let me see. Share sound. Okay. Tell me if you can see my screen.
Got it.
There we go. Run. Get some instant results. I think I stop and run it a couple times.
Oh, that is really fast. That's cool.
Yeah, so one thing I should caveat is I did not do scalability testing on this. I think we time box this to a kind of a short amount. So that's probably one of the bigger concerns is do things fall over when you have that many concurrent connections?
And is this something that shipped? That was a research thing, right? So just to make sure stands, there's no change to the product on this front. No change to the live query console in this release.
Yeah, this was a POC that's not really shipping as a feature.
Yeah, and actually we decided, Mike, one of the sessions with you, we decided this is the wrong way for us to go. It was still valuable for us because this was a very deep learning of our entire mechanisms, and showing that we can do local polling was very valuable. But again, it looks like not the proper way for us to go. So just a POC, we have a branch for that. Okay, thank you, team. Next, Rachel will present Chrome Chrome extension, error handling. If anyone needs a reminder, there is always query that we put on Mac, Linux, and Windows. And for Chrome, we don't have always query. So Zach built an initial framework for it to act as if it was always query. We implemented tables for it. One thing that was missing is errors, and Rachel will show a nice presentation of how we now handle it. Take it, please, Rachel.
Hey guys, happy Friday. Yeah, so this is my one big quote unquote feature of the sprints. So what I was working on was a lot of the Chrome OS stuff. I was digging into it last sprint actually, and then finally finished it this sprint. But basically when we query Chromebooks, we were getting back the errors, but the unique thing about our Chrome extension that we created, or Zach created, is some of the tables are made using multiple Chrome APIs. So, for example, system info, this is actually a table that Jacob built out. This uses, I think, like 5 different API calls to a Chromebook when you target a Chromebook. And what happened was when we ran this and you were having errors, so we're going to see some errors here, it wasn't actually showing up on the errors table. It was just showing up here. So it was just showing up as empty. So here we can see I have a fake MacBook here. And then here's my Chromebook down here. And so some of these columns should be empty because Chromebooks don't have these columns in this specific OS query table. However, things like hardware model, hardware serial, hardware vendor, and host name should have returned, and our users didn't know that until now. I made it so we surfaced those errors. So before, we only showed those errors in the logs in the service worker for Chrome. So this is my current Chromebook that I am right here, and just have a shared screen next to me. But those errors are being shown in the service worker, but now I just made it so they actually show up in a errors table. And so working with Zach a little bit, talked to him about how we want to surface this. And so if there's 4 columns with errors, now you can see that there's 4 rows of errors in the errors table for that Chromebook, which is pretty cool. And then I did another quick fix. There was another Chrome table where it was surfacing only in the service worker, but now if you have an error, you can see it now in the dashboard or in our UI. And you're probably wondering, how did I even get these errors? This Chrome extension is incorrectly installed using extensions and not through Google Admin, hence the errors, but that it actually helped me because it made it easier to build this out. And as far as code goes, basically the only difference is instead of just returning the data, which we were returning this array with all of the information, you can see here we have multiple API calls. Anything that says await, for those of you who don't know JavaScript, this is all of our API calls we're doing to Chrome APIs. So it looks like we have 6 of them. It was just returning the data here. And then so I just added another object that's just the warnings, and then used Zach's code and modified it to surface those warnings into our UI. So that was my fun Chrome OS experience. So now if we add more Chrome tables that do more Chrome API calls, we can make sure that we surface all of the errors that we might be getting back.
Thank you, Rachel. Awesome. And next we have Lucas presenting a few things that were requested by customers. Take it, Lucas.
Okay. Hi, folks. So first issue is these labels. Capability to set labels to the extensions. So just to show a little bit what the extensions are. I'm using a local host because I don't think we have this in Dogfood. I just merged this today. So you can go to settings, agent options, and then in the agent options, you can configure, if you're using FleetD on your devices, then you can configure an extensions like property, and you can set extensions there. By extensions, I mean executables that implement tables separate from one's query. So you could write, I don't know, implement some table for your company specific to your needs, and then deploy that and have your hosts use that, new tables. But you need FleetD there. So via Fleet, currently you could configure these, like you can set the extension name, the channel, which can be either stable edge and so on, and the platform, target platform. But now the feature I implemented now was to add this extra property called labels. So in this case, this extension called Hello World macOS will only be deployed to hosts that are member of these two labels. So let me just, this is confusing, so other labels here. So in this case, this extension will be deployed to hosts that are macOS hosts and, are member of other labels, like, I don't know, you can create labels simply, any kind of label. And it's basically an end here, right? The host must be a member of the two labels to get the extension deployed. So we'll test that now. In this case, I have, so let's set let's test this first with this one label. And basically what we can see here, I have this installed right here. And what you should see is basically the extension being deployed. Sorry, I think I messed up with something here, so give me a sec. Agent option. Oh, it's gonna take a little bit. All right, I think might show up in a couple of seconds, so we'll have to wait for this change to take place that I did. But let me show you another thing about this feature is that you can do this per team. So each team has its own agent settings, so you can have, your own extensions for your team, and you can even do labels within teams, right? So in this case, I have an extension Hello Mars on Ubuntu Linux label, right? So we'll go to Ubuntu here. So what that means is that I'll see on the FleetD side, we'll see this file here, which is the extension that was deployed. And from Fleet, all you need to know is that you can query the tables that extension implements. So you can query, in this case, hello Mars. And then, it's just a dummy table. Now, there we go, just a table that returns fixed data. And you can see here that I used testing repository. So to use these kinds of extensions, you need to set up your own tough repository. So this is where we see all the extensions for all the platforms being deployed. Customers need to manage these tough repositories, themselves. So yeah, so that's the labels feature. You just can apply labels, and let's just try one more thing here. I'll do these settings. Let's go back to the team. And let's do something weird. So agent options. So these extensions, I'm gonna now deploy to Mac OS and Linux, which is obviously doesn't make sense, but I want to show that if I do this, if I do this, did I say? Oh yeah, if I do this, then the extension will probably go away from my Linux in a couple of seconds, because the host is not a member of both labels. Let's wait for a couple of minutes, seconds, and it should happen that we should see this empty. And then if I query the table, I should not see the table. While that happens, I think, yeah, feel free to ask any questions around these extensions, but I think that's about it on this side. Let me see. Yeah. Right. Let me see if this works now. Okay, there we go. The extension is gone. And if you query the table now in the same place, you'll get a no table error. All right, that's about it. I'll now switch to another bug for another customer where in the previous release, 437, we optimized, you probably remember Tim showing the optimization. I have a load test environment ready. So for example, this environment has 52,000 hosts and it's pretty fast. Like this will load pretty fast, right? So on the previous sprint, we optimized this thing, but we forgot to optimize the case where a user might request all hosts, like 52,000. So the optimization works for requesting 50 hosts, but it doesn't scale if you ask for all the hosts, which is the case for export host here. So I haven't tested this, but this will either fail or take a lot of time to execute. Now it's running in the background. So that was the issue. We just forgot about this button. Actually, I forgot while doing load test. And this is a lesson learned that I'll be actually writing some scripts to detect that. We forgot to test this button. So there's a customer that uses this API where they just execute this report. And the report gets all the hosts. So this optimization was basically, again, it worked for small hosts for like pagination, but it didn't scale. So what I did was just revert back and we actually have this weird code where if you're requesting a low number of hosts, we'll do an optimization. And if you're not, if you're requesting all hosts, then we'll do something else. So it works on both cases now. I don't have I cannot really demo. I can't demo this locally that it's kind of working, but I will be load testing this today to actually see the results on a more real environment. So right here, you will just see that it takes, let me just see. 9 seconds on my computer for 70,000 hosts. So it's working, but we'll know more if we test on a real environment like this one today, later. And I think that's about it.
Great, thank you, Lucas, and definitely good learning about the load testing. And it's good that we'll now have a paper of how to do it properly with everything. So that's great. Thank you. Next, we'll have Jacob presenting how to build Windows installer with local Wix instead of Docker and other stuff. Take it, Jacob.
Hey, everyone. So, got the usual many desktops here, so bear with me getting the right thing here. Believe, do you all see a Windows VM and a terminal on the right? Great. So yeah, this sprint we had a customer who requested, well, I guess backing up, as many of us already know, one of the core features of Fleet is that we install this agent on a number of an organization's hosts via an installer, and we support Linux, Mac, Windows, and Chrome now. And to generate that installer, it requires slightly different process for each of those operating systems. And to generate the Windows installer, we make use of this software called the Wix toolset. And the current system is my understanding, and folks who know this better than me, please correct me if I'm wrong. The fleetctl package command by default pulls a pre-configured Docker container from Docker Hub, which contains a Linux machine, which emulates a Windows machine, which uses this Windows software to build the installer, which is quite contorted, but also allows us to have, to control exactly the environment we're building this stuff in for consistency. But one of our customers wanted to just directly use, if they're building this installer on a Windows machine, be able to just use those tools locally instead of doing this roundabout Docker business. So that was what I was tasked with doing here. And I guess the reasons for that would be kind of security policy, IT policies. They don't want to have to pull Docker things from Docker Hub. So basically what I did here was just add this. So here's the good old fleetctl package, which is anytime if you're used to using UI, you click add hosts, generate installer, you're given this command here that looks something like this. Fleetctl package, type MSI, that's for Windows, include fleet desktop, fleet URL, all the usual stuff. And then the new feature is this local Wix dir. So if the admin who's building this package wants, they can just pass the path of the directory containing the 3 binaries that this command uses to this command. So mine is, for example, at app data local temp Wix 3 binaries, and it will use there it goes. It will use the local binaries. And we can tell that it is doing that because we see, if you see the standard output, contains these 3 Windows installer XML toolset statements, which we don't usually see running this command because that's in the Docker container. And there it is. There's the Fleet OS Query installer. And there it goes. So I believe that's it for that. Thanks, Lucas, for your help guiding me with this stuff. Quite new terrain, so really appreciate the help. And then I also did some work to add validations to, so switching gears. Let's see here. So let me pull up a UI as well. So I think a couple sprints ago, we added, we kind of combined a lot of the scheduling features with queries into a single schedulable query concept. And part of that was adding the platforms field to queries. But we realized that we did not have validations for that field, pardon me, on the server. So what I did was just add validation on the server to make sure that whatever the contents of the platform field being applied were valid for Fleet. So here we have some queries in a YAML format, and as you can see here, that's a little nicer to look at. So here in the platform field, what we accept with Fleet is Linux, Windows, Darwin, Chrome in any order separated by commas. As you can see, this is Charles Darwin, which is not the Darwin we're looking for. So when we try to apply this queries YAML, and this fctl is just a shortcut to the most recently locally built version of fleetctl. And I hope this works. I had to reset my database yesterday to try to query. Okay, that's what we want, right? So Charles Darwin is not a valid platform. And look at our queries, they're not there. We also see that there are no queries, which is good. So what if we apply the valid queries, which is just, as you can guess, a YAML of valid queries. It works. There they are. Yay. That's it. Thank you, Lucas and Roberto, for helping me with this. Again, new territory, and I've learned a lot. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Jacob. And we started with showing the backend side of the additional information for the vulnerability dashboard. Eric will close this with talking about how it's being used, the front-end side. Please take it, Eric.
I'm showing a few new features to the vulnerability dashboard. This is surfacing the work that Tim did, software API. So added resolved inversion to the vulnerability list table. And if software item didn't have a resolved inversion from the Fleet API, just gets the stash. If there are multiple software items affected by the same vulnerability, there's open a modal to see the resolved versions for each software item. And then the CVEID, previously, this just took you to NVD's site. But now, since we added the CV description, opens a modal that shows you CV description. And you can open the NVD site. And these columns have been added to the CSV export actions for both exporting results for a single vulnerability and for all vulnerabilities. And that's it for that. Now, next feature we added was support for Okta SSO. This can be turned on by adding 3 config variables to the app. Just starting this. All right. So it's now handled by Okta SSO. Functionality is same. The only difference is you are up. Oh, cool. Well, oh, okay. So I will look into that bug. But you can't change your email address or password if this app is using Okta SSO. That's it.
Great, thank you, Eric. This concludes the first part. So we'll go back to the improvements later. I'll return it to you, Luke, or George directly.
Yeah, let's hand off to George and the MDM team for their features of this release.
Thank you.
All right, I'll be presenting for both of the features. And we just have a quick couple of features to talk about. Our main feature that we worked on this sprint didn't make it into this release, so we'll have plenty to demo at next sprint demos. But the first one we're going to go is redelivering failed macOS profiles. We've got a Loom video attached that we can, nope, that's not what I wanted. One full screen, please. Yeah, I'll take the other one. All right, so here we have a host with an outdated ad tracking profile installed. And for the purposes of this demo, it's never received the command to install the new profile when it was updated. So this is very hard to set up outside of a dev environment. That was actually one of the hardest parts about developing this feature. Did that play for everybody, or did it not start at the beginning? But essentially, this will see, the profile verification process happens each time OS Query reports the host details, which is hourly by default, and we refetch to speed up that process. The first time we refetch, Fleet realizes that the reported profile is out of date and enqueues a new install profile command. In the UI, we see the status switch to pending at this stage. We refetch again and to monitor the process and watch how the profile goes from pending to verifying and verified. And voila, retry successful. So as currently designed, Fleet will only retry a profile once after the profile is marked as failed and won't be retried again unless the profile is updated or the host switches teams. Any questions about that feature?
George, could you pull up the GitHub issue for this? Because it has a nice diagram that I think would be a good visual for how this is working.
Absolutely.
So this is a great value add, I think, for Fleet's MDM offering in particular, because we're leveraging OS Query to solve a pretty common pain point we heard from IT admins when we were doing initial user interviews, which was sometimes the profile doesn't successfully install, but I have no way of knowing that. I just have to kind of trust when it says it installed properly, which it doesn't always do. So with Fleet, we're solving that by using OS Query to verify that those configuration settings in the profile were actually applied, which is a big value add and a differentiator for Fleet, that we have the capability to do that in OS Query. And then also auto-resolve by redelivering the profile if it didn't properly install.
All righty. So then the second feature we have to talk about is the load test for MDM features. Now, we've run this load test previously with 2,500 hosts, but that was with simulated hosts, and the profiles were installed using OS Query Perf, and we disabled the calls that we were making to Apple, the push notification services. And so this is rerunning that load test with explicitly push notifications enabled. Now, these are virtual hosts, so we expected all of these push notifications to fail, but the purpose of this test was to see if there was any kind of rate limiting or errors that Apple would start throwing if we slammed it too hard. And the results of the test were that basically, no, we are fine. There were no rate limits or errors from Apple outside of the fact that it was an invalid host. And the performance is all included here, and performance was all within normal ranges. So successful load test. And so both of those are currently attached in the sprint demos for anybody to review later. Does anybody have any additional questions about that one? Yep. And so that's it for the MDM features. So
Great.
I'll right back to
Thank you, George. And MDM features a little light this week because one feature didn't quite make it in. It's going to merge early next week, so next release will be extra exciting for MDM. The reason for that is, as you all may have noticed, Fleet's releases have been going out later and later over the last several releases, up to a week late pretty regularly. And so we made the decision to extend freeze to 4 days and get back to a more reliable freeze release cadence, so that we can make it the rule that we release on Friday instead of the exception. Cool. So back over to Sharon for CX improvements and bug fixes.
Thank you. Awesome. So we will now show some bug fixes. We have a list of false positives for vulnerabilities. Some of them were addressed this sprint, and team will start with that.
Hello again. Maybe not the sexiest demo, but in this case, I want to show a little bit more around some software you probably haven't heard of called Flock. Turns out in this specific case, and I think this is a common enough case. I'm gonna go into that in a second. This is what it looks like in its fixed state. So this is what we're seeing here, Flock 040, is this project. What we're previously, and that was a false positive because we were reporting on this Flock desktop app, which is here. And so we just had a case of kind of duplicate names there. What I thought was kind of interesting about the fix is we have a pattern here. There's a JSON file. You may or may not have seen this. We call it CPE translations. And we do this for some, apparently there's a common enough case. You can kind of see through here. And I'll show you what the fix was. Not too bad. What I thought was kind of interesting about this is maybe with a little more documentation, we can start maybe promoting this a little more if we haven't been already, and maybe get some more contributor traffic. Because basically all I did here was we're saying, hey, the homebrew package of Flock, hey, it doesn't exist in NBD. There's no CPE for it. We're going to skip it, and we're going to remap this app Flock to what NVD reports it as, which is a product of Flock and vendor of Flock. Again, I think I thought that was probably the most interesting part of this, and maybe we can get some more contributors outside our company to fix some of these. There seems to be a good, a steady cadence of false positives that come in. Python was also in there. That was actually not covered in this case. We're covering that kind of separately. So that's just a kind of a global ignore there. But that's false positives. Any questions?
Thank you, Tim. We'll have some more by Lucas later, and we'll switch to Rachel now with a different topics of front end and other bugs. Take it, please.
Cool. Hey guys. Yeah, so I just want to preface this with a lot of our front end bugs end up being because we add new features that we never thought we would do, or we'd fix one bug and then somehow it shows up in another place as another bug. So a lot of the bug squashing has been just like figuring out, okay, well, where did we miss an edge case? So I just wanted to show you guys one that I think Mo found in April, and I don't even know why it wasn't on our board since, but basically we have this use by column. Here we are in dog food where it's currently not working correctly. And you can see that it has the emails collected, and we implemented this maybe like a year and a half ago. But what we missed was for filtering. The moment we filter, all of a sudden the use by column is turning up blank for everybody. It doesn't matter what label you're on. So I ended up getting a fix in for that, which ended up being back end. So since I'm on call, I decided to dabble my feet into back end. I'm usually in front end. Hence this PR just still kind of sitting here and me trying to fix GoLints multiple times. But basically now the back end has a different call for hosts that are specified by a specific label. And so all I needed to do was change that SQL query to ensure that we were querying, including device mapping for host by label. So you can now see in my tiny little Zoom video here that it now works once this PR is in. So that will be in later today. And yeah, just a lot of the front end stuff. It's just almost like whack-a-mole. For example, we put in a little like time ago, like 3 months ago or 1 month ago. When we first built this, we were like, well, we're never going to have like time ago that's older than Fleet. If it is, probably a bug. And then all of a sudden on software, when you look at vulnerable software, those vulnerabilities can be something that's really, really old. So when we looked at, I don't know if I have one that has a vulnerability that's really old. I should have thought about this first. But when you look at a specific software that has a really old vulnerability, that published date could be much older than Fleet. And so we were having a bug there. So it's just been a lot of little whack-a-moles here and there. Things like 1Password, we're like, oh, cool. We are making sure that people can, update their or save their user accounts with 1Password. But then 1Password tries to autofill any input that has a string name in it. So little things like that. Saving multiple new policies. So we had this issue where if you saved a new policy and then you went to create another one, it would not allow you to do so. So if you save this policy and you go back and you try to add another policy, this save button is disabled. That's because we fixed the problem where if you don't have the name saved, but you have an ID saved, we won't let you save. But in this case, it thinks we have an ID, which is the last policy's ID. So I had to go back and fix to make sure that it reset the policy's ID. So yeah, a lot of little front end things you think would be like a quick fix, but it actually turns out to be like really intricate and related to something else that we worked on. Oh, here's another one. This was just a recent one. We actually fixed the tooltips that show up on softwares. So these little tooltips here. And so we fixed it. Jacob's going to talk more about that fix, but that was actually causing errors with, you can still see it here on dog food because it doesn't have the latest fix, but you can see that the tooltips are going over this drop down. And so that's just a CSS bug that, once again, we fix one thing, but there's always something that might show up that's an edge case that we didn't think about. So yeah, work has been definitely busy in the front end.
Thank you, Rachel. Another thing to say is this is not presented because it will be for next release. Rachel started taking some bites of the bigger caching work. It's not in the main branch, it's in a different branch, but it will definitely give us some more bandwidth next sprint. So thank you, Rachel. And with that, let's move to Lucas back to false positives.
Okay, this one should be pretty quick just to show the reason of why of some of the false positives that we get. So in this specific bug, if we go like to the CVE, every Microsoft Teams version was matching the CVE and so what was happening is the following. So let's go to dog food real quick and let's just look for Microsoft Teams. It's probably fixed there, but I don't know. So we can see here Microsoft Team app. We actually had two fixes. This version is wrong. This should be swapped. So the change that I did will fix this. But then apart from that, well, it's not right here, but let's pick this as the version of the Microsoft Team app. So put this here. So the versioning actually was something like this. We had the chance to remove that. So this is the Microsoft Team version that was installed on some computers. And we were actually targeting DCB on every kind of Microsoft Team version. And the reason is, if you scroll down here, you'll see up to excluding, and we have a date, right? So because we don't have like actual, the data set exposes only the up to excluding. So basically what was happening is the following. Is like this is, I mean, the library that we were using thinks this is a version, which is, I mean, it's expected because this is basically up to excluding. Now, in most cases, this is a version, but in this case, it was a date. So every Microsoft Team version was smaller than the 2020 version, right? So For this specific bug, we just excluded DCB. And one of the reasons this is a date, this is my guess, is because this is a vulnerability on the online service mostly. So they just fixed that around October 2020. So for now, we just fixed that. Specifically, we just excluded this one from our processing because we know it's not valid anymore. But we're gonna do an extra effort, probably, I don't know, in a future spring when we have more time and be more intelligent about when we get dates here, basically. So that was it. Yep.
Thank you, Lucas. Jacob, you want to present the next thing?
Sure do. Let's see. Window. That's the right one. Nope, that's the right one. So yeah, as Rachel mentioned a few moments ago, there was some previous work to allow us to open these links in new tabs, which is obviously super useful. And that this whole software table is one of those things, like she mentioned, is deceptively tricky to work with. So that introduced this issue where when you have a tooltip on the software name and with this bundle information, it was doing this kind of thing where you couldn't select it, but it was just dragging the entire thing. So the work I did here was allowing the user to select and import, probably most importantly, to copy that information. Yay. While also maintaining the other very nice features of these rows, which are if you click within here, it just selects it, doesn't click on anything. If you click the software name, we're taken to the software details of that software. And if you click anywhere else in the row, we're taken to the hosts filtered by hosts. There, by hosts with that software. And yeah, that one was really tricky, but that's it.
Okay, thank you. And last for the CX team, I would like to present something about the deploying of our Chrome OS extension. So I'll share my screen. So we have the Chrome OS extension, which is what's simulating OS query and allows our customer to deploy our stuff on Chrome OS. And we had a customer that couldn't deploy our extension, and they just didn't understand it, and we didn't understand it. And what turned to be is that the Google admin settings was not trivial, and we had to dig into it, and here's what we found. So for anyone that is not familiar with the Google admin, there is a way to create organizational tree. So like a root tree, which includes users, devices, and whatever, and sub organizational units, which are called for short OU, organizational unit. So there's a way to create a tree for that. And what we thought is that if you will go to Chrome devices and will have an OU that you will put all Chromebooks in, and then go to this specific OU and say, I want, for this OU, I want to force install FleeDM is our extension. If we will do that, it will deploy. However, it didn't deploy for any OU, only if you put things at the top level. We did not understand it. So what turns out is that unlike common sense and unlike all YouTube documentations, if you go and do the Google admin course tutorial, you found out that you can only deploy extensions at the user level. That means you should create an OU that has users that have Chromebooks and only deploy that to that. I don't have permissions to do user, so this is a picture sent from Zach. So here's an example, an OU called Chrome OS testing RP. And we put myself here. I have a Chromebook, so it should work. And indeed, that works. So when you put me as a user in Chrome OS testing and I deploy this, I will see my Chromebook having the extension, and I don't need to put it here in the upper level. So this solves half of the problem. But now we have something else. Other than devices, the Chromebook devices that are managed here, we have managed browsers. So Chromebooks have the Chrome OS, but we also have Chrome web browser, like what I'm just displaying here. It's a Chrome web browser that is installed on my Mac and is still managed by the Google admin. So if I put myself as a user here and say that I want this extension, what will happen is that it will also be installed on my Mac, on my Chrome web browser, whatever, Windows, Linux, Mac. And we don't want that. Well, it's not a big issue because we did put a disabling code there, so it will not do anything. It's still awkward. So the way to do it is a kind of a, I don't know if it's a workaround or by design, we create another group, another OU that will say, put all your managed web browsers, use Zach's managed web browser. And for this specific group, what we will do is we will just block. Oh, here it's for this. So I think, well, someone played with it, doesn't matter, but we will block it. This one, for example. So we will put in this one all the managed web browsers and block it. So we are now in the process of creating the document. Thank you, Mo, for helping with that. And we'll publish it to the customer so that they can do it. And yeah, any questions about that? If not, then this ends our presentation. I'll just give one announcement. This is not part of the demo, but I think it's interesting for customer support to understand our capacity. So just a quick hiring update that we have, as Haziel presented himself, we have Haziel joined, and we will have another person, Victor, joining middle of October, and we still have one open position. If you guys have any recommendations, thank you. Back to you, Luke.
Thank you, CX team. Great fixes and improvements there. And I know that Chrome extension was tricky to track down, so appreciate you all sticking with that and resolving it for the customer. Handing over to George for MDM improvements and fixes.
All right, and the first one we're going to be talking about is a fix to Windows MDM enrollment that was preventing us from using it in dog food. Marcos.
Okay, thank you, George. Yeah, so the fix that I'm going to show was something that was not quite working when the device is enrolled through the UBI stage, which is the first setup that the user ends up seeing when opening a new device. UBI stands for out of the box experience. So yeah, so this is the first thing that the user is going to see. So I'm going to take you through those initial steps where the user, configures some initial setup for the machine. Yeah, so this is going to take some time because I'm doing it live. Let's see. Hopefully this is not going to trigger the update. Yeah, okay. So here the user will have to either choose to set up a local account or use an organizational account. So I'm going to go with that. And I'm going to put my account in dog food. For now, this is just asking for a password, which is the password set on the Azure ID tenant. We're not using the federated authentication for the moment, so the user will have to put the Azure account. And this is the Microsoft Authenticator thing, which is something that is configured currently in our tenant as a two-factor authentication for the user. So I just approved this from my phone. Yeah, and this is the first screen that the users end up seeing. This is the terms and condition presented by the Windows MDM. So if I click agree and continue, the Windows MDM enrollment process is going to happen now. It's actually happening. And then the user will be presented with this is a regular Windows stuff. That means that the enrollment already happened on Windows and the device on our MDM server, and the Windows device is finalizing the configuration, which should hopefully not take that much. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you is this Windows Hello, which is again a policy that is configured in our tenant that is asking the user to set up the Windows Hello PIN. And that's it. The user was able to log into the brand new device. And now under the hood, what is happening is that Fleet D is being installed on the device, and the device is getting enrolled on the dog food. So that's we're going to see now, hopefully. Just a second. Yeah, so this is dog food. We will be seeing that there was a new enrollment. So that MDM was turned on for this device, which is the device that was just we were just seeing, and in a minute or two we will be seeing that device is popping up on the list of Windows hosts. In the meantime, what we can do is to check if Orbit was already downloaded and installed on the device. So we can check that out in here. Program files. Yeah, Orbit is up and it's actually installed, and we are going to check if Orbit is up and running. So I'm going to use this tool to check for that. There you go. So Orbit is installed. Good. We are going to check now again on Dogfood if the device is already there. Yeah, this is the device which is currently being configuration is it's already been pulled. So yeah, so the device is installed, and we just saw the automatic enrollment, which is the enrollment that happened during the OB process. That's it. Any questions? If not, going back to George. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Marcos. And then Roberto has two bug fixes that he's going to walk us through as well.
Hey, yeah, unfortunately, both fixes are not something we can demo, but we can quickly walk through both. One was an error that one community user and one customer was having with a migration. And the cool thing about this error is that it was actually the community user we teamed up, and they ended up finding the solution for this. We passed that solution to the customer, and they were able to fix it. We know how to prevent this in the future, and both are already unblocked. So this was one of those. And the other is also a learning for the macOS MDM, because we were using some interfaces that Apple exposes to query for configuration values that are set by configuration profiles. And what we learned is that sometimes those values are cached. So even if you send a new configuration profile with a different value, and you query for that value, you don't get the right value back in. So the fix for this was to actually manually query all the configuration profiles that are installed, go through them, find the right one, and find the right value that we want to enable script execution on the host. So yeah, those are the two issues.
All right, and that concludes it for our improvements and bug fixes for MDM for this sprint. Does anybody have any questions? Otherwise, back to you, Luke.
Thank you, MDM. Some good improvements, and great to see that a longstanding community and customer issue was resolved. Thank you for that, Roberto. That is it for sprint demos for version 4.38, codename Magnesium. Here's a Magnesium joke in the chat. We are targeting release EOD today. So if everyone, please do what you can to make sure that any unreleased bugs are fixed, any critical bugs are fixed. We can't release with unreleased bugs. So we're doing our best to target that end of day. That's going to set us up nicely for next release because we can close out this sprint, close out the milestone, and have a fresh start on Monday instead of having the overlapping releases that is difficult for everyone to manage. So let me know if I can help at all with that. Otherwise, everyone have a great Friday, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
See y'all.
Bye, thank you.